I'm going to be showing you how to make a portal or do a portal effect using Great Stuff foam and lights. This is something I originally got the idea from something I saw online years ago to make cauldron fire coals out of Great Stuff foam and lights. I've adapted it for quite a few props over the years. Lava demons, toxic waste dump demons, devil coming through a portal, which I'll show you in a couple minutes. Also a portal with demons just coming through it. And this is like something I keep on my basement wall down for show. It's some sort of demon just coming out of a portal. I want to show you guys how to make one of these today. All right, here's where I used the effect. I did this about 4 or 5 years ago. And this is a devil's portal, devil coming through it. It's starting to get a little worn down. You can see the mask is worn down. However, the effect is still what I wanted it to be, where there are lights embedded inside the Good Stuff foam, which allows us to light up at night, and it looks pretty good. I'll be posting a picture, inserting a picture, and you'll be able to see what it looks like at night. And here's a portal I made a couple weeks ago, which I was able to hang and make it look like it's floating outside. I still have a little touching up to do to it, but this also looks like there's a demon coming through a portal suspended in air. Okay, the possibilities for what you can do with this are unlimited. I'm just going to be showing you how to make a small plaque today, like something that you might be able to put on your living room wall or something like that. However, when you make these, you can make them as big as you want. One of the things I'm thinking about doing for next year is getting big pieces of plywood and maybe making one 8 feet tall by 16 feet long, something like that, and actually showing having all the forces of hell coming through them. I think it'd be a pretty cool thing to do, but that's next year. I'm not going to worry about that right now. The materials that you want are plywood. Now, you want to use plywood because I've tried using cardboard in the past. However, we're eventually going to be putting Great Stuff foam on this. And one of the things about Great Stuff foam is that it cures, actually oftentimes pulls up and it'll distort or contort the thing that you're making into positions that you probably will not like. But you don't want to go too thick on the plywood. Now, I think this is a 1/4 inch plywood. You can get a 4 by 8 foot sheet for $18 or $23, depending upon how fine you want it. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is when you buy wood like this, if you go to a Home Depot, my Home Depot has a giant saw there, so a lot of people can't fit it into their their cars. They have a saw there where you can ask them to cut the plywood down, and you can have them cut a 4 by 8 sheet down into much smaller sections and bring that home with you that will actually fit into your car. You want to have some sort of wood. I'll get back to that in a second. You're going to want to get what are called string lights. String lights you can get on Amazon. They're not too expensive, maybe $8–10. And these are one of the key components of doing something like this, where you're doing the coals effect or where you're doing the portal effect. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing is taping this down to the board, and it's going to be providing the inner light that we want for this. When you get this, you got to think about this stuff ahead of time. What color do you want? You can get the things that are dedicated colors. You can get green, red, blue, yellow. Or you can get multicolor that has a lot of different colors. There are advantages and different disadvantages to each. If you get multicolors that has any colors, you can use whatever color you want. You can make it up, decide what you want to do right there. However, there are certain patterns that this will do where I'm using like a dedicated, this is going to be like a red with soft white mixed in. I'm going to be using this, and there's certain patterns that I want where it'll blink on, off, on, off, on, off, or really fast. I can play around with it a little bit. Whereas if I'm using multicolor, it has options where it'll fade and blink and stuff, but it goes through all the colors. You can't just pick blue or yellow or green or red and stay with that color. It goes through all the different colors. So I actually like using a dedicated color light string for this. You want to get a piece of wood. One of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be attaching this to the back of the plywood. Depending upon how big your thing is, you might want to have 1 or 2 or 3, however many battery packs that you're going to need. String light packs that you need. For this, I'm just using one. It's like I said, a red and white. This is probably about 33 feet. It's probably longer than I actually want, but I'd rather have it be too long than not long enough. And I'm going to be screwing this to the back here. However, this is going to be also going up against the wall. So I need something that will attach to the wall. So you're going to need some sort of wood that you can screw into one side of it, the other side, that provides a space for you to actually put it on the wall, and this thing doesn't get hit or touched or anything like that. You're going to need some screws to screw stuff in. I tend to use what are called deck-mate deck screws. I use them for almost everything. They're very easy to work with, fast, incredibly strong, long-lasting. One of my favorite things to use. And you're going to need some great stuff foam. It's one of the things where figure out ahead of time. Honestly, 1 can will probably be enough for this, but sometimes might take a little bit more. You're also something that you have coming out of the portal. I'm going to be using a skeleton for this. However, just about anything you have can be coming out of the portal. You can have demonic dogs, you can have just a skull itself coming out. Whatever you want is up to you. Literally, your imagination is the only thing limiting you. Okay, the ones I've made so far, you need, like, basically the string lights is the internal light, but you also need an external light to light up the whatever's coming out. In the basement, I had an external light on the ceiling shining down, and it lit up the thing coming out. You can still see the string lights inside. I've got similar things set up on the devil portal, on the other portal, the hanging portal, where I have an external light that's lighting up so that you can see the person coming out at night. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try something a little different. This is going to be an experiment that I'm doing during this video, where I have these small lights. I'm going to be trying to build up the bottom great stuff foam where I have it coming out far enough that I can embed this in there, have it shine up like an uplight to shine on the, like whatever's coming out of the foam, to give it a cool effect. You also need some tape. As far as tools go, I'm going to be using a couple different things. I'm going to need something to cut this into the shape I want. I'm going to be using a jigsaw, but there's a lot of different things that you can use to cut it. I'm going to need a screwdriver with a bit for these different screws. I'm also going to be using a drill to drill a hole in here. I think that's just about it as far as tools go for this. Okay. One other tool I'm going to be using is a sander, just to sand the edges after I cut things out. Now, first thing you want to do, get your wood and come up with a pattern. Pattern can be anything you want. If you want a square, it could be a square. If you want a circle, it could be a circle. If you want a octagon, it could be an octagon. You can make it look like a crack in the wall. You can make it look like literally anything. You can make it almost look like a cloud if you want, depending upon what your purpose is. So I'm just going to kind of do a crack type deal. Trace out ahead of time. Make it look like there's a crack in time and space, maybe. And then get the jigsaw. I'm going to use the jigsaw to cut it out. Okay, so I used the jigsaw to cut this out. It took maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Jigsaw cuts through this really fast, especially since it's such thin plywood. Next thing I'm going to do is get the sander, sand the edges, try to cut down on the possibility of getting splinters and things like that. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to determine what your front and back is. That's totally up to you, whatever you want to make it look like. I think I'm going to make this the front. I'm going to make that the top up there. Actually, no. I'll make that the bottom, make that the top. Now, one of the things I want to do is drill a hole in here. I'm going to be putting the light battery pack on the back here so I can change it whenever I want. And I want to have a hole that it can come through and string up the front. For this, I used a 13/16 blade because it's the first one I grabbed. It could have been an inch, it could have been 7/8, whatever. This is the first one I grabbed, so that's the one I used. What happened is I'll be setting up so the pack goes back here, strings go through there, and I'll be stringing up this entire front here. All right, so what I'm doing now, I've got this cut out. Got 2 pieces of wood that are gonna act as like where I'm gonna put the battery pack in between them. This is also gonna be the part that attaches to the wall. So put it on top there. And there's different ways to figure out where you need to drill the screws. I'm generally pretty good at just like lining stuff up, so I'm not gonna be doing anything too difficult here. But if you have a hard time like this, just use measurements, use math. There we go. Drill my pilot holes. I'm using 2-inch screws here because I have pretty thick wood back there. Alright, got my wood back here, and I'll sand these down so I don't have the screws. Screws won't damage the wood and everything. That'll take me a minute or 2, and I'll be done with this. Okay, so I'm gonna use a grinder to get the tips off. Honestly, I should have used shorter screws. I should have used 1 1/4 inch screws, but sometimes just no courtesy after I already got stuff done. They're flush, they're good. Alright, another tool that we're going to need is the sawzall. Now the sawzall is going to be to cut the skeleton. Now, like I said, there's anything you can use when you do this, but you want to make sure you position things the way you want to. Basically, I'm going to be cutting the skeleton probably around the rib cage or so just the head, the rib cage, and arms are coming through. I might have to take the arms off and reposition them. That's really not a big deal. But what is a big deal is I want the skeleton cut at just the right angle so that it looks like it's coming through here pretty well. So basically what that means is going at an angle where I start up here on the back and I go downwards. And then what I'll do is I'll put it on there. I'll probably bend the neck a little bit using a heat gun, bend it up so it's looking outwards, and I'll have the effect that I want. So now he's going kind of up a little bit. I bend the neck up, and it's going to look like he's facing out, coming through the portal itself. Oftentimes what I do when I make skeletons is I do what's called horrifying them, where I wrap them in plastic painter's tarp. I might add teeth, do things to make it look a little more demonic, so forth. For this, I'm just going for a fast version today, so I'm just using the skeleton itself. What I'm going to do though, take a look here, see it's kind of coming out a little bit there. I want to bend the neck so that it's looking outwards. And the way I'm going to do that, very simple method, use the heat gun, heat it up. I like to have a fan on, I'm not sure what kind of fumes is giving off. I've got a window open there, I've got a very large garage door over there. And the idea is to heat the neck up enough to where you can bend it easily. Okay, I'm bending it now to where I want it. And then a little trick, once you get it to where you want it, there was a spray bottle of water. It'll quickly freeze it into place. You won't have to worry about springing into another direction. And we're set. Now, I mentioned earlier that I oftentimes do what's called horrifying these things, make them look like more evil or nastier, things like that. I have videos online on this channel. You can check them out if you want to see how to horrify a skull, or like basically plastic wrap and corpse the body a little bit to give it a different look. Time being, I'm going to rip the arms off because I'm going to have them coming out of the foam in a different way so they don't need to be attached to the body. This type of skeleton is super simple to do. By the way, if you're planning on doing this for a portal outside, a good idea would be to seal the wood in some way or another. You don't want the wood to absorb water, rot, things like that. There are a lot of different sealants that you can use to do it. Our next step is I'm going to put this where I want it. I'm going to get a little bit of the great stuff foam. I'm going to put it right around there. And the great stuff foam is really, really good at locking things into place. It'll take a little while to set up. That's why I have this piece of wood here, just to help it sit in place where I want it. So I'm going to get the great stuff foam, shake it. The more you shake it, the better off you are. And when you're using this, definitely advisable you wear gloves. Now, this is not fun to get on your hands. I normally get the great stuff foam at Home Depot. You get 2 large cans like this that have the reusable tip. Now, one of the things is before you use it, shake it and shake it really, really well. I'm actually going to put this up a little bit higher, right about there. I just want it around the base, just enough to lock it into place. I don't want to go in too high yet. I'm going to be doing other stuff that can make it higher. Now this should be enough that in a half hour or so, I can move it, I can do what I want with it. Close the tip so I can use this again in the future. And a quick tip, like if you get a little bit on the wood, no big deal. Quick tip, one of the things about great stuff foam is if you spray it with water, it cures and sets faster. Now I'm going to set up the arms a little bit. When you put the great stuff foam in around here, it's not a bad idea to leave a little bit of great stuff foam, build it up out a little bit away from the skeleton. That way we can drill a hole and it'll give us a place to set the arms. I'll be drilling a hole into the great stuff foam there, a hole into the great stuff foam right about here, putting the arms in. Now when it comes to the arms, like everything else, it's the preference of what you want to do. If I had more time, I would probably put like, do a little corpse on the skeleton, give them teeth, things like that. As far as the arms, because of the joints, you got that little nail there, I would probably get like a little bit of a plastic wrap or something, put it around there, hit it with the heat gun, put a little stain on there, maybe stain up the arms a little bit, just give it a more cohesive look, and then put it in there. That way you're able to hide that little hinge there. But to me, it's not really that big of a deal. I'm not worrying about it. Now on skeletons like this, you know, you want to pose it the way that you want to. And this skeleton here is very flexible. You don't want to like bend stuff too hard or else it'll snap off. But if you slowly bend things, you can bend this into different shapes to make it look a little creepier. Bend the finger so it doesn't have that stupid flat look that they have when you get it. And when I put this in here, I can put it so it looks like it's kind of reaching out and everything. Have it down there, have it up there, wherever I decide to put it. That's something that's going to be up to you to decide how you want to do. Now I'm taking my lights. These lights, you can get different sizes. Most of the sizes I see are either 16, 32, or 66 feet, give or take a little bit of length. This is going to be a 33-foot one. It's very long, probably be a little bit more than I need, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. What I'm going to be doing is unwrapping this first, and you unwrap it all the way. You're taking this, stringing it through, and then once I have it strung through, I'm going to screw this and attach this to the backboard. The way I'm going to attach it to the backboard is just put it up here. There's a little hinge or something up here. I'm going to take a screw. I'm going to zap the screw straight through the board into the back of the skeleton. Since it's going in the skeleton, you don't need to cover it up any other way, and it'll be nice and firm. All right, so I undid the string wire. Now when it comes to string wire, I've noticed there's a couple of different types of string wire. Some are bare metal, some seem to be covered almost like a plastic coating, and the ones that are covered with a plastic coating definitely unravel a little easier. When I was unraveling this, it kinked up a couple of times, and that's something that gets a little annoying. Now, as far as this goes, I'm going to put this into position right there. Get a screw, get a driver bit, put this in there. And it's in there, nice, tight, it's not going to go anywhere. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put batteries in this before I I start stringing it up just so it'll be a little easier to see where the lights are. Alright, now I've got the lights strung through this hole here. I'm going to flip over, I'm going to start taping this down into the pattern I want. One of the things though, since you have this on the back, you can get these battery packs, these string lights. Sometimes they have a remote, sometimes they don't. Obviously you probably want to get one with the remote so you don't have to take it down off the wall every time you turn it on or turn it off. Alright, I'm going to flip this over. And basically, I've got this white tape. I'm going to string the tape around in a circular motion, getting closer and closer to the skeleton until the whole thing is lit up. This don't take me a few minutes, and this is probably one of the longest parts of the process. So we're just going to stop it here and come back when it's done. All right, one of the things with these lights, they do have an upside and a downside and underneath. When you put this down, you want to make sure everything is pointed upwards. When you're putting the tape on, just need small strips of tape. When you come to one that's upside down, just take your fingers, twist it. They do twist real easy. And you're just kind of doing it in a pattern. I'm following the edge, and I'm just going to get closer and closer in towards the skeleton. When I tape these down, I tape them pretty close to the board. They don't have to be like completely flat. That's one of the nice things about using LED lights. Up until a couple of years ago, you didn't have the LED lights to use. So when you're doing something like this, you had like putting stuff inside a foam, like if you were doing the hot coals trick, you would have to take into consideration that the light bulbs heated up and that they could potentially burn the foam. I have not had any problems with that with the LED lights, but something to think about. Just make sure you're a little careful. You might want to turn your lights on before you ever use them. Let them run for a couple minutes. Make sure they aren't hot or don't heat up. But LED are typically very low heat, so probably not going to be a problem. As I was saying, I'm going to try something a little different on this one. I don't know if this will work or not. One of the things that you need to do with this, you need to have some sort of an external light to light up the skeleton so the skeleton shows up and it's not just a portal, it's like some dark shadow in there. I'm going to be doing two things for this. One, when I put the Great Stuff foam on, I'm going to be building it out down here up a little bit, which means that I'm going to have the lights sticking up higher down here so I still get the effect with the foam I want. Then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a spot where I, like when I build up the foam, where I can put in a small light. That'll be an external light that will light up the skeleton. You'll see what I mean when I do it later on. All right, next thing I'm going to do, I've got everything strung out. You can come around, you can see how I have it all strung out here. I've got to go into a circular motion. I build it up out here because I'm going to bring the foam up, and I'm going to have the foam coming out more out down here. Like I said, I'm experimenting, see if I'll be able to put an uplight in here that'll perhaps make it so I don't need to have like an external light on the ceiling or something like that. If it doesn't work, then just plan on doing an external light on the ceiling. I'm going to put the arms in. Now when you do the arms, it's up to you whether or not you want to set it up so there's no movement in the arm whatsoever or not. You can get a little bit of JB Weld epoxy, steel weld, shape that, put it in there. That would work. You could get a screw, drill a hole through there into that and put the screw in. That'll work. Now you can even get some tape if you wanted to put some corpsing over this where you got some plastic wrap, stained it and everything. You could do that too. They would all work. I'm not really worrying about that. What I'm going to do is I already have this Great Stuff foam here. So I'll drill a little bit very carefully because I do not want to tear the lines that I have in there, the lights. Jam that down in there, position the position I want it. And just like that, honestly, once I put the foam on and everything, I don't think that I'm going to need to worry about locking anything into place. I'll do the same thing over here. Actually, we'll make this one down here. going there. Okay, I don't like that, so I'm going to get this more in line with the joint itself. So be very careful. You do not want to get the line at all. Jam that in there. Now I'm fine with that the way it is. Now the last part, get a little bit of the Great Stuff foam and start foaming it up. I'm about to use Great Stuff foam, and I'm going to be doing the foam in a circular motion, almost following the lights I did. One of the things, if you've never used Great Stuff foam before, wear old clothes and gloves, because the stuff gets on you, it's kind of annoying. And it probably will get on you. I'm just going to go around the edge. When I get to the front here, where I wanted to build stuff up, got the wire in place, and the wire is going to act as a lattice for the Great Stuff foam to kind of hook onto. Do it in a spot that you don't mind if a little bit of foam gets on the ground. Once it dries, it's pretty easy to clean up, but when it's wet, it's all gummy, very adhesive. Cover up all the tape that you put down. Don't let any of the tape be exposed. Tape up, cover the edges. Nice thing about the Great Stuff foam, if you have any mistakes or anything you don't like in it, it covers up a lot of the mistakes, acts as a veneer. When you get to the hands, you're going to need to figure out what you want to do with the hands. Do you want to have part of the hands sticking out of the foam? Do you want the hands going into the foam? Do you want the hands under wire, over wire? Like everything else, it's your own personal preference, how you want it to look. You probably want to have at least 2 cans of foam on hand to do this. By the way, as far as the wire goes, the 33-foot length, I thought it was going to be too long. It's pretty much the perfect length for what I was doing. So, as I said, you can also get them 66 feet if you want to do a larger one, or you can use 2 different sets of wires in there and just have 2 battery packs in the back. I think between all my projects this year, this is probably about the 20th to the 30th can of foam I've used this year. So, I'm using a lot of this. I'll get underneath the hand, but not covering the hand. Except right where the wrist is, I do want that covered. Trying to give it so the hand looks like the hand's coming out as well as the arm. There's small gaps, you don't get everything, that's fine. We're going to be spray painting this later on. A little bit of wood showing. The spray paint will cover up the wood, make it kind of blend in. You want to get it around the arms. You can use it to cover up the Great Stuff foam you already have on there a little bit. Build that out just a little bit. Make all different types of patterns. You go circular, up and down, lines, whatever makes sense to you. Make the foam, I don't make it too thick, I probably only get laid, so once it blows up, it's only about 1 inch or so thick in most places. I'll try to cover all the lights if you can. I'll get some down there just a little bit. Not too much. Okay, I'm also going to add a little bit more down here because this is where I want to build it up a little bit and build it out. I'm going to give it a minute or 2, spray a little bit of water, try to cure it. Anywhere you see some exposed wire, I want to just get it with a little bit of foam. I'll do it up a little more right here. Like I said, I'm doing it up so much down here because I'm gonna like drill a hole and put a light in there later. See if that makes it a little easier to do the uplight. All right, the Great Stuff foam and solidified. I just wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like right now. You can see I haven't painted it yet. I'm going to be painting it next. Kind of get an idea of what it looks like here. You can see how the portal itself looks pretty lit up. However, you can't see the face that well. You can either use an external light. You can have like a light on the wall, have it shining down. You can control how bright it is, or actually design this to kind of fit in here, give it a little bit of uplight. That lights up the lower face a little bit. This is another option of something that you can do for this. Now that I've got the portal part done, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to spray paint the foam. Next part is going to be spray paint. Now, just a quick note, I'm looking at this. I actually kind of like the way the light goes up. One of the things I might do next time if I do build another one of these is maybe even build this out a little bit further. Pull the lights up a little bit further, add a little bit of a layer. Pull this up a little further, I think get almost the entire face. As it is, I'm getting the lower face. I think it's kind of a cool effect. I probably won't have the external light like on the ceiling or anything, just that light down there. Now, next thing we're going to do is spray paint the foam. The foam takes spray paint really, really well. You want to wear a mask when you do this. And the color spray paint depends upon what color light you're using. So I'm using a red light under there. I'm going to use red spray paint, which I'm then going to mix with a little bit of black paint to give it a little depth and make it look a little bit better. If you have green lights, you probably want to go green. If you have multi-color lights under there, you know, in case you want to change the color of lights, what I would probably use is a silver type of color, or metallic silver. So I'm going to spray paint this. It's real simple to do. Wear a mask. When you do this, you want to get it from a couple of different angles so you can get all the little crevices and everything. And here we have our portal. Now, I hang this on the wall, and the way I would hang it on the wall is get a couple of, like, you could do it a couple different ways. You can use wires. I like command strips. I get like 3 command strips per side. Just have them going up and down. Have some command strips on the wall, some command strips on this. Put the command strips on the wall, let it sit for like an hour or so for the glue to cure, and then you can put this on here and it's set. It's easy enough to change the lights and to change the batteries. Just take it off, change the batteries. When you want to turn the lights on or off, you use the remote, just kind of get like right under it, shoot it up there, it'll change the colors, turn it on, turn it off. And as far as the skeleton goes, I did a very basic skeleton for this. You can do whatever you want. You can corpse it up, horrify it. You can use dog skeletons. You can have anything coming through the portal. One of the things I think I said earlier, next year I'm going to have a gigantic portal about 16 feet long by 18 feet high at least, and it's going to be an entire panoramic scene where I'm going to just have all types of forces of hell coming through the portal. So this is the portal. This is when the lights are off. And just to give you an idea what it looks like with the lights on. In a low light situation.